For about a year now, AI search has been doing something to organic traffic that nobody expected and neither prepared for. Companies across every industry have seen their organic traffic fall, and not by a little. We're talking 20%, 30%, 50% in some cases year over year. If you look at their traffic graphs, they look roughly the same, down and to the right. And if you have been in marketing for any amount of time, you know what's supposed to happen next. Traffic goes down, leads go down, and revenue follows. That's the model. That has always been the model. Except this time, that's not what's actually happening. For a large number of these companies that are watching their organic traffic fall off a cliff, revenue has stayed the same or in fact growing. And that doesn't make any sense, at least not on the surface. Most marketing teams are in one of the two camps right now. Either they're panicking about the traffic numbers and trying to explain everything to their leadership, or they're quietly relieved that revenue is holding up and hoping that nobody asks too many questions why. So in this video, we're going to look at the industry at large and see how this traffic down, revenue up sort of a pattern is consistent. I'll be adding insights from other original data studies, which helps us connect the dots. We'll look at real-world companies going through this shift and understand what's happening to them. I'm also going to throw in my own clients' data so you can validate it for yourself. And then lastly, we're going to blend everything together to look at two core concepts, which explains how the modern AI search journeys have evolved and how that is impacting everyone in the space. So before we jump deeper into this, let me just quickly talk about the actual pattern that I've been discussing. So there's this consistent phenomenon that everyone is experiencing in the space, which is that the traffic from organic search happens to be down, yet the revenue is either holding up or in fact growing. It was first reported by Will Reynolds from Seer Interactive, and then many other people have started talking about this as well as soon as they started experiencing this. So Will noticed that there has been a big divergence between organic search traffic and revenue for his company. And he also talked about how this is also happening across other kind of companies that they're working with. And there was this divergence that started appearing roughly around 2023, 2024, basically meaning the traffic is going down to some of their key pages, informational blog posts, as well as other kind of pages that they have on the site, any kind of content that lives on the site in the form of web page, yet their agency's revenue has kept climbing up. Their overall branded search demand is up. Everything that you think about as a lagging indicator of business is growing. Then we also had other agencies jumping into the mix and talking about the same thing that they're seeing, which is the traffic is declining, but their revenue, the clients that they work with in terms of conversions, revenue, or any other lagging indicator that they look at is growing. So for example, this is Grow and Convert. They talked about the same thing, that most of the companies are either growing in rankings, yet their traffic is going down, which in this case is denoted by this blue bar that you can see. At the same time, they noticed that the impressions are going up. Now, with that in picture, they still saw that although clicks are constantly declining, constantly dipping, the conversion chart looks pretty strong. It still looks pretty good for one of their clients, and also aggregated across multiple companies, they were seeing the same pattern. Then you can also see folks like Grant Fishkin and Brendan Hubbard also started talking about the same thing, which is that traffic is down, but revenue is up. And they looked at various other examples of companies, talked about what they're seeing at SparkToro, at the companies that Brendan is working with, etc., etc. And in fact, you can check this yourself. If you just pick some of the public companies or bigger companies that you can find revenue data for, and then check their organic search traffic in sources like Ahrefs or SimilarWeb, you will see the same pattern again. So I have a couple of examples here. We can look at HubSpot, right, which is this popular example where they started losing traffic, I think, more than a year back. Now, there could be many different factors affecting this traffic decline for HubSpot, and specifically for HubSpot, I think the picture was much bigger than just the impact of AI search. I've also talked about how there were many other things like Google just looking at this website in a different way because they just covered everything under the sun. But anyways, the point is, roughly around the same time that this traffic started going down, they were creating record numbers in terms of revenue, right? Quarter over quarter, if you look at their public earnings report, the numbers in terms of revenue growth are fabulous. They're at an all-time high. So what do you see? Traffic is down and revenue is up. Same goes here for Click, which happens to be an enterprise data management company, according to many of the estimates, their revenue has been constantly growing year after year since 2023. But if you look at their organic search traffic for the entire site as a whole, for the past 3 years, the trend line is pretty clear. Organic traffic is constantly going down, revenue is constantly going up. Then we have another one, which is TripAdvisor. It's one of those OG companies that have always relied on organic search, SEO, in order to generate revenue. And you can see the same exact phenomenon roughly, which is 2024 traffic was high, 2025 it started taking a small dip, 2026 at this point it's even lower, and based on their projected revenue for this year, based on Q1 earning report, you can see that they are on track to grow year over year. Of course, the increments in terms of revenue are not massive, but again, the pattern holds. Traffic is down, revenue is going up, even if the increments are smaller. Then we have NerdWallet, again, the same exact thing. Traffic is down, revenue is up, year over year. The pattern continues. Now, looking at all of this, isn't it interesting that for so long, we've always talked about how organic search traffic or traffic in general is one of those most important KPIs that we want to track and we want to grow. Most of the investment that went into marketing always had this meta goal of driving traffic to our website. Why? Because we always knew that traffic will drive people who are qualified. Those qualified people will turn into customers. Customers will bring revenue. But what we're seeing right now across the industry is a totally different shift, which is like a complete detachment between traffic and revenue. This is something that is literally breaking our mental models. So this data right here is making one or two things really clear. Number one, traditional search traffic is going down, right? We can see that less people are coming to our websites through Google, most likely as a result of AI mode, AI overviews, and of course other factors could also be there, but for the most part, AI search integration in traditional search engines like Bing and Google happen to be the biggest reason why we're seeing less traffic flowing from these channels. But the second thing that is equally interesting is that AI search traffic around the same time is also growing, but not with the same magnitude. And that's what makes it interesting. Basically, what I mean here is it's not as simple as saying that, hey, people used to Google and now they're using LLMs. So most likely the same traffic is now coming from these AI search platforms, because the numbers are not the same. They don't add up. So what I mean here is, imagine if you were driving about 100 clicks a month from organic search from Google, right? And now maybe in the past 1 year, you've lost about 50% of that traffic. So you're only seeing about 50 clicks a month from organic search from Google. If you go into your GA4 or any other analytics platform that you're using, and then you look at the total traffic that AI search brought in the same time period as a replacement, right? When you lost that traffic from Google, how much did LLMs add? That number will not add up to get you to the same place as you were 1 year back. So if you lost 50% of the traffic, if it was like 50 clicks down month over month, the resultant from the AI search traffic would likely be an addition of 10%. It's like you lost 50 clicks, AI search added 10, but what about the rest of the 40? And then on top of it, the bigger question is, dude, why is my revenue still growing? Like, what is happening here? As in, if I'm not getting the same amount of traffic back from these AI search platforms, if the traffic gone is gone forever and I'm losing that traffic incrementally year over year, then why is revenue still growing or at least holding up? It's a pretty big question, and I'm going to give you the answer here. The answer is it's happening because of the traffic quality difference in these two channels. In simple words, the traffic coming from Google versus the traffic coming from AI search platforms like ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, they're not of equal qualification. As a result, you will see differences in conversion rates. Traffic from AI search sources converts at a significantly higher conversion rate than traffic from Google. And again, this is not just me. There are literally hundreds of reports on this from companies like SEMrush, Graphite, and many others in the space, talking about how they've noticed that search traffic coming from LLMs happens to be of higher quality. For example, here you can see the average LLM visitor is worth 4.4x the average traditional organic search visitor, meaning the traffic value that you're getting in terms of commercial potential per visitor from AI search versus traditional search is significantly higher. Now, I know what you might be thinking. It's as simple as conversion rates being higher, right? That's it. That explains everything, but not really. Why would conversion rates be higher? Do you really think if I replaced your existing traditional search experience with an AI search one, immediately your level of qualification will go up? Why would that be happening? You're the same visitor, you're in market or out of the market around the same time. There has not been a massive change in your need for a solution right now. So why would the integration of LLMs in your search journey certainly change everything up in your behavior as a searcher? And the answer actually lies in the data. And this is where I want to show some data that I've pulled from Modash, which is a company that I happen to lead organic search for. So Modash happens to be an influencer marketing platform, and I lead discoverability here, which basically means SEO and AEO. I also work with a couple of other companies, so I have conversion rate data that I can see across many different industries. But using Modash as an example here, we can see something that I've pulled from multiple different data sources. So you can see in terms of organic search versus LLM search, if you think about the conversion rates that you experience from different content formats, right? So broken down by page type, there's a consistent difference across every single page type. So we have programmatic pages where conversion rate is significantly higher, more than 2%. For organic search, that was roughly around 0%. Same goes for blog posts, significantly higher, more than 4.5%. Then we have the same thing happening for free tools that we have on the site. We have the product pages following the same pattern, pricing page, and in aggregate, you can then see conversion rates for LLMs happening to be really, really high compared to organic search, right? Now that is already understood, but you can see one small exception here, which is the homepage, right? So this is again interesting because if this is really a pattern, if the traffic coming from LLMs for some reason just happens to be more qualified, why would that be? And why would we not see the same pattern being followed by the homepage specifically, right? There's a story that can be told and some dots that can be connected. So let's do that. So for this part, I'm going to walk you through how I think the search behaviors have changed because of the integration of AI search. What exactly practically, tangibly changed and how you search information, make purchase decisions, visit websites with LLMs now in the picture. And I can explain it really well with this diagram here. So search behaviors have changed, but exactly how? When it comes to traditional search, like Google, for example, what usually used to happen was that you would search for a keyword, then you would visit a page, right? Because you're trying to seek information and that information is not presented within the SERPs themselves. So you search for an informational keyword or maybe anything else, then you visit a page, you gave one impression in one click to one page, right? Maybe 10 impressions, of course, to different pages. Then you come back and you revise your search and then you narrow down into maybe more specifics. So this is where if you were looking for an influencer marketing platform, maybe not actively, but you were still just interested in learning more about influencer marketing space and the kind of solution that it offers, you'd be like, what are the different kind of influencer marketing solutions I can work with? Maybe there are a couple of agencies, freelancers, maybe there are also software tools that I can use, etc. So you start with that kind of a keyword search inside Google, and then you visit a page. Then you come back and you're like, I've consumed some information and I want to narrow my search down to maybe just software tools. So that's when you're like, what are the best influencer marketing software tools? Then you again visit a page or maybe visit 2 to 3 different pages. Then you come back again and you say, hey, I want to specifically look at pipe auditor alternatives, right? Something like that. And then again, you visit a couple of pages, you come back to the SERPs, and then you're like, hey, I think I have made my decision. I want to go with Modash, and I'm going to type something like Modash pricing. And that's where, again, you visit a page and then you convert. So in this case, you have constantly visited different pages along with typing search keywords inside Google, right? So you visit something, you come back, you search again, and it becomes a loop of its own until your search journey has completed. Now, of course, it's not going to happen like in a single day. It might happen like in a matter of weeks or months, but the pattern is the same. But how has this changed in the case of AI search? So now with LLMs like Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, you would still do a keyword search, or maybe a more accurate word here would be prompt search, right? So you're searching a prompt. And then LLM gives you a response. So again, if you imagine the same exact thing, which is you searching for something like, what are the various kind of influencer marketing solutions I can work with, agencies, freelancers, consultants, software tools that you might need, all of that stuff. So you're consuming information that is middle of the funnel, right? So LLM gives you a response, and that helps you narrow your search. You then again do another prompt search, and you type in something like maybe, what are the best software tools for influencer marketing? Again, LLM gives you a response back. So this pattern continues, and then you follow the same exact customer journey, which is until you have found your exact software that you want to buy. You're not going to stop searching within an LLM like ChatGPT or Perplexity, whatever you're using. So it comes to a point where you're like, hey, I've made a decision. I want to use Modash, right? Or any other tool in the market. So you've completed your search journey, and now you want to visit a page. So you'll be like, can you tell me what's the pricing of Modash? It will give you a link. It will get you to the website, and that's where you can request a demo or something, right? So what is happening here? In the case of you using AI search, information is being provided inside the LLM. So there's absolutely no need for you to visit the page throughout your customer journey. You can gain most of the information right within your chat interface without ever having to leave your tab. That is an experience that traditional search will not be able to give you, right? It forces you to visit different pages, even if you're not ready to buy. And then what that means is, finally, when you still choose to visit a page, for example, when you've already compared different kind of solutions, you've compared their integrations, you've compared their pros and cons, you've finally made your choice. Maybe you've thought about budgeting, pricing, everything that is there to think about in your evaluation process. That's when you still want to talk to a sales team, try the product, maybe give it a free trial or something like that. And that requires you to get to the site. So what that means is when the users using an LLM within their search journey still choose to visit a page, they're usually closer to converting, right? It's not that you're a different person now. It's not that your need has changed. It's just that now you have all of the information without ever having to visit the website. And finally, when you still choose to visit the website, you're just far more ready to make a purchase decision. So what that means in terms of numbers, it means in the case of traditional search where you visit so many pages in order to collect all of that information, let's say you give away 10 visits in total, right? Just for the sake of example. That means intent per visit was lower because that also includes, the searches where you were just narrowing down your search. You were not yet ready to make a purchase decision, but you were gathering information to help you just narrow down your search so that you can finally make a purchase decision down the line. So your intent was low per visit, right? On average, which means, let's say you finally converted, your conversion rate would be 10% out of 10 visits, right? Just for the sake of example again. Of course, usual conversion rates would be far less than this because traffic numbers would be higher, but just for the sake of example, 10 visits, 1 conversion, 10% conversion rate. But if you look here, all of this is filled with LLM responses, right? You don't have to go outside of ChatGPT or Claude or anything else that you're using in order to gain the information that you're looking for in your search journey. So when you finally visit a page, it's like maybe 1 visitor, right? So imagine if it's like 4 visits that you drove in total, right? For your entire customer search journey, maybe you visited a pricing page, or maybe there was, an integration page that had more details than ChatGPT could pull, all of that stuff. So you visited websites in general in your search journey using an LLM fewer times than you would in traditional search, which means your intent per visit was high. Every time you visited a website, on average, you were closer to make a purchase decision than, for example, in the case of using Google, right? Which means if you gave away 4 total visits and you converted once, your conversion rate would be about 25%, right? So this is why your conversion rate happens to be higher in the case of LLMs. This is what's happening with your audience. They are choosing not to click outside of the tab, not to leave their chat interface, gain all the information right there with the help of their LLM agent. And then finally, when they want to talk to you, when they want to get in touch with your sales team, try your product with a free trial, just maybe find information on your website on their own without the help of the agent, right? At some point when they've made the decision that now is the time to visit your website, their intent is super high, which means the conversion rate would also be high if they convert. Now, I've talked a lot, but one thing that is still unexplained is this thing that we looked at, which is that sure, conversion rates are higher, but what about the homepage, right? Why would the homepage have higher conversion rate coming from traffic that is organic search driven, coming from Google, compared to LLMs? If that exact pattern is being followed by other page types, why not the homepage as well? And again, this is very interesting. I have one really interesting study that helps us connect the dots finally and fill the gap that we're currently seeing in not being able to tell what's happening. So in the case of the homepage stuff that we just looked at, this anomaly, what's happening is very well explained by the study that Sage Media did last year in 2025, where they basically noticed in a study of 50 different websites from their own clients that every time search traffic went down as a result of AI overviews for companies, the homepage traffic actually went up. They noticed that, for example, in the last 3 months, when AI overviews back then in 2025 were ramping up, more number of AI overviews were appearing for it, the set of keywords a website is ranking for it, they noticed the entire website saw a decline in clicks and uplift in impressions, which usually is explained by AI overviews giving you an uplift in impressions because certain pages are picked up and thrown into the AI overview snippet, which just spikes the impressions up. CTR went down, of course, and average position saw a smaller change, but then homepage around the same time for all of those companies consistently showed the pattern of growth. The clicks went up for the homepage, the impressions went up. Now CTR was still lower because, of course, as I mentioned, it's not going to be equivalent based on what you're seeing inside AI search as a replacement for the traffic that you've lost through organic search, but organic search traffic as a whole went up for the homepage. Now, why is that happening? Because if organic search traffic coming to your website was happening through informational content, right? Blog posts, listicles, other kind of pieces that you've traditionally created for SEO have started going down because all those questions can now be answered by LLMs, by AI overviews. So AI search is basically pulling all of your informational traffic down, right? Which means most of your website, if it's based on informational content, will also experience a traffic dip, right? So that part is understood. But at the same time, since the usage of AI search is growing, since those companies which have invested a lot in SEO in the past couple of years, the companies who have built a strong brand, the companies who have a decent brand footprint on the web, the companies who have clear positioning and they're being recognized as credible leaders in their space, they already have some momentum with AI search, which means while they're losing traffic in terms of informational queries inside Google, and AI overviews is causing it, AI mode is causing it, LLMs are causing it, at the same time, AI search, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and other LLMs are giving them recognition. As a result, AI search is constantly citing your brand. People are learning about your brand through LLMs. And what do they do afterwards is that they search your brand inside Google, get to the website through the homepage, and that means an uplift for homepage traffic. I'll explain it visually so you can understand this concept properly. I'm talking about the modern search journey, and this explains why, while information traffic is going down, the homepage traffic is actually going up. And this also explains some attribution problem that many companies are dealing with right now, and it might be you. So the modern search journey looks like this. You're using an AI search platform like Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, or whatever, right? You do a prompt search, maybe for something like, what are the best influencer marketing software tools? And then an LLM gives you, in response, a list of recommendations, right? So software 1, software 2, etc. So you have, let's say if it's Modash, right? The company that I'm talking about, then it would have a variety of different competitors along with it, right? So ChatGPT would say something like Hype Auditor, Upfluence, Modash, Grin, and others, right? So it gives you a list, just like a search engine would. Then what happens next is that you keep doing further research inside the LLM, right? So you have a list now, you can work with it, but then you say, hey, can you compare these products? Can you give me the pros and cons? Can you give me the gap in their features? Maybe better value in terms of pricing, integration capabilities, all of that stuff. So you keep doing your research to narrow your focus and move closer to actually making a purchase decision. But what happens is this does not happen in a single prompt session, of course, right? So, of course, we know that B2B buying journeys are longer. It will happen over the course of weeks, maybe months. In fact, in some enterprise product cases, that entire customer journey inside AI search platforms will span over maybe years. And I know it sounds weird, but it happens. But anyways, for normal B2B SaaS companies, weeks and months are normal, right? So this research is happening over time. Someone is searching this, looking at a list, coming back to the session, maybe closing their laptop, going to, join a group therapy session or whatever, right? Play football in the evening, and then 3 days later, they come back at it. Then they started working on something else, and then 1 week later, their manager talked about the same thing. They get reminded, they come back to the same session inside ChatGPT, or maybe they start a new chat, right? They maybe start using a different LLM. But for the most part, that entire model, that entire search journey continues in the same way over weeks, over months. So time goes by. Over time, let's say they've made a decision. They're finally ready to make a purchase decision. They know that they want to buy from Modash. They've narrowed their search. They think this is the best product that they need. So what happens next? If you've learned about a brand through ChatGPT, right? There have been so many additional touch points across so many different channels around at the same time. You'd be watching YouTube videos. You'd be listening from your peers about different brands and what has their experience been. You'd be looking at reviews from other folks who have already bought this product. You'd be looking at Reddit threads and many other things, right? But finally, you made a choice, and now having gone through all of that momentum of search journey, getting exposed to the same brand over and over again, you're finally ready to make this purchase. The problem is now you don't really remember what made you think about this product in the first place, right? What was the discovery layer? So what you do next is you search the same brand name. When you're ready to make a purchase decision, you want to talk to their sales team, and you search the brand name inside Google. So Google gives you the first result, which happens to be the Modash website, the company website, right? You get to the website, which is the homepage, and then you request a demo, which means now if you look at the CRM as a marketer, this entire search journey is going to show you inside the CRM that the source is Google search for this conversion and the destination happens to be homepage, right? So what happens now? It just moves the conversion rate for the homepage really, really high. So the source is organic search, traditional Google search traffic. Destination is homepage. While in other cases, right, the other examples that we looked at, the conversion rates might make it pretty clear that LLMs are outperforming traditional search. The search journey is different and all of that stuff. Homepage will just skew that entire picture. And it's again happening because of this weird sort of a customer conversion journey, right? People still use Google as a gateway to get to the website, even if they've learned about a particular brand from LLMs. This is the modern search journey. It has disconnects. It might not happen exactly like this, but some version of it for sure lives in all of your buyers, chat history within ChatGPT or Claude or, any other LLM that they're using. I know at this point you might be like, Usman, I've gone through everything. I've looked at data, industry reports, and I've understood your concepts. But what do I do now? How do I measure success? So that's where we move towards the last component, which is how to actually measure success now. I have about 6 different strategies, tactics, or maybe mental shifts that you need in order to measure success effectively in a world where AI search operates and is constantly just blending the entire picture. So let's dive in. The first one is AI search visibility. It is table stakes at this point that you measure your brand's LLM visibility, and it's the baseline, it's not the ceiling. So you have to understand that using tools like Peak and Profound, which show you whether your brand is visible within models like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, it used to be a big thing. It used to be maybe innovative like 1 or 2 years back. At this point, it's just basic. So you have to start here. If you're not measuring AI search visibility using some of these platforms, or maybe in fact you can build one of your own using Claude Code, but visibility monitoring is going to be extremely important. So start here. Make sure that you're not oblivious to where your brand is showing up. Number 2, traffic is not core anymore. Understand that traffic as a core KPI is just going away. I know we're still tracking traffic. I do it too for all of my clients, for Modash, because it's still one of those leading indicators, but it's losing its significance. So what I'm seeing companies do now is that they use it as a directional metric, similar to how they would think about rankings in the past, which was, of course, rankings matter because that means if I rank higher, I'm going to gain more traffic and that will drive more signups or conversions. But ranking itself is not the goal. The goal is always revenue and more customers. So think about it in the same sense. Most of these platforms, not just AI search in fact, but even the social platforms these days are designed to not send you traffic, which means Applying traffic volume as a goal to AI search is essentially a failing model. And in fact, the good thing that we can learn from this video is that when AI search sends you traffic, you don't need the same numbers. You don't need the volumes to match in terms of what you've lost from organic search and what you gain from AI search. Because the quality of traffic is higher, 4 to 5x in fact, you can just have few more additional visitors coming from AI search traffic, and that would be pretty good in terms of its commercial value. So traffic is not a core metric. It's still important as a leading one, but it's definitely losing its value every year going from here onwards. So don't attach yourself religiously with traffic anymore. Number 3, direct or unassigned, or in fact, I would put referral traffic counts more than ever. Why? Because when all of these AI search platforms send you traffic, sometimes due to UTM links, it can be tracked inside GA4. But as we just saw, if that traffic is not directly coming as a result of, referral traffic, and UTM links are not working properly, as in if the journey looks like this, where the discovery happened from somewhere and all of that stuff, most of the traffic attribution will break, which means GA4 will also attribute a lot of AI search traffic into direct or unassigned if any of the chains in the process breaks somewhere. So when you think about organic search traffic going down, if you can see that happening, also check whether direct traffic or unassigned traffic or all of these, weird sort of mediums inside GA4 have seen an uplift in the same time period, because typically that happens. In simple words, direct traffic or unassigned traffic inside GA4 could be hiding AI search visitors. So measuring organic search in isolation in the form of, GA4 data or maybe data coming from HubSpot, etc., does not make sense. What you want to do is look at referrals, direct traffic, unassigned traffic along with it. So if organic is down, but direct traffic went up around the same exact time period, that is telling you something, and that is worth pointing out. Of course, as I mentioned, numbers are not going to match perfectly, but again, it's a really important directional metric that your leadership, rest of the stakeholders should look at. Number 4, we have pipeline is more important than page views. It's a mental shift that you need as a marketer moving forward into 2026, 7, and many years beyond, which is that using lagging indicators as your North Star should be your ultimate religious sort of a mental model. And to be honest, if you really think about it, traffic has always been a leading indicator, right? It's us marketers who assigned some sort of potential value to traffic because that meant a proximity for revenue. So if you really think about it, traffic itself never really meant anything if it did not convert into visitors. So meaning, if you can see revenue holding up or in fact growing in many of the cases, you don't necessarily need to worry about traffic. I've seen CMOs where they would be like, yeah, I know revenue is good, it's growing, everything is fine, we have more customers, we're matching and in fact exceeding our targets, but we should also still worry about traffic. We should still try to gain the traffic back that we've lost, which is again a failing strategy in a world where traffic is not going to come from neither the search engines nor these new AI search platforms. So in simple words, if your pipeline is growing, customers are growing, the lagging indicators, revenue, for example, ACV, anything that your company really cares about from a growth standpoint are growing. If those numbers look positive quarter over quarter, month over month, you don't need to worry about traffic. Sure, think about how can you do, in fact, better, but don't worry about random visitors that you might have lost. Number 5, the branded search effect. So branded search happens to be one of the meta indicators that your company is winning, right? It just means when more people are looking for your brand, no matter what, your marketing is working. So if you have been investing in SEO and now you're trying to move this AI search visibility needle, you want to track your branded search volume over time, you can use third-party tools like Ahrefs, SimilarWeb, maybe Exploding Topics, and Google Trends. But most importantly, you can use Google Search Console and filter by branded queries. You can then look at the trend. If the branded search volume is rising, that means you're doing good. And I know at the same time, maybe informational queries will keep going down because AI overviews will just keep on expanding. AI mode is now a new thing, and AI search platforms are constantly growing in terms of number of users. But the good thing is, when it comes to branded search effect, it's basically a momentum that is agnostic of the channel. So if more people are looking for you inside Google, they're going to find you. If more people are looking for you inside AI search, they're going to find you. And to be honest, if you have a really strong brand that people actually search for, you don't need to worry about visibility that much. As in, sure, you would still be creating content, but when you have momentum in the form of inbound demand coming specifically for your brand name, that is a moat that no one can really beat. And you can think about it like this. I've seen people searching for stuff like SEO tips plus Ahrefs, which is an SEO brand, right? I've seen people search for stuff like maybe health advice or, something related to health that they're typing inside Google, and then they would put something like WebMD in front of it, right? Or maybe they're looking for some sort of a news and they would type the brand name New York Times. Why? Because they trust those brands. So what that means is, if your brand is strong enough, it might in fact help you pull back on informational queries a little bit, because people will now say, hey, I don't want any SEO tips. I want SEO tips from Ahrefs or Backlinko and other brands, which signals to Google, and it will signal to AI search that these two topics, right? These two entities, SEO and Backlinko, health and Healthline or WebMD, or news around a particular region or whatever, and New York Times are linked, which means all those sites are going to continue to grow for those niches, for those informational categories as well. So make sure that you track branded search demand and do everything that you can to grow it. And then last but not least, focus on self-reported attribution. This is mandatory at this point. I know in B2B, we've looked at it for so long, but this is the most important one. Really, at this point, when AI search is just blending everything in terms of attribution, it just is breaking every single data point that we've traditionally looked at and called it success. It's the only lever that you can pull, but you can still add some level of clarity. So add an open field, ideally speaking, if not, maybe a drop down, where you ask people, how did you hear about us? I say this because I know that last click attribution will simply never capture a buyer who discovered you in ChatGPT maybe months ago, and then, something happened, like life happened, and then finally months or weeks after, they just typed you inside Google, right? The same thing has been happening with social platforms all the time. People find your brand through one platform, and then they use Google as a gateway to get to the site. So if you have an open field like this, you'll have people tell you exactly how they discovered the brand, where did the demand creation actually happen, and then finally, of course, you can still see in your CRM that Google maybe was just a demand capturing mechanism, but the demand actually was created inside ChatGPT or other LLMs, right? Someone might be using. And then, of course, if you can constantly see LLMs showing up in that open field in the form of self-reported attribution, it just completes the picture, right? You can see your revenue going up, which is the meta indicator. You can see anecdotal data, which means more people telling you that they found you through LLMs, just means that your strategy is working. At this point, if your traffic is going up, that's fine. If it's not, doesn't really matter. Again, it's one of those simple things which will just add so much clarity that it makes absolutely no sense to miss it. So that's pretty much it. These are my strategies that you can use to actually measure success now in this era when AI search is just skewing our data right in front of us. Traffic is going down, revenue not so much. But why is that happening? Because your behaviors have changed thanks to AI search. You can fight back if you actually measure success differently, if you optimize differently, and that's pretty much it. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe. I'm going to keep posting on this channel more regularly. And if you have found me through YouTube, I usually create more content on LinkedIn. So make sure to get in touch. The profile link is in the description, and I would love to say hi. Till then, see you.